Welcome everyone. Guess what today is? Episode 1, Series 1, Episode 1. Can you believe it? My show on New Thought Network. I'm so excited. Okay, PIP. Why did I name it PIP? Practicing Infinite Possibilities. We all have infinite possibilities every single day. And so I want us to get in there and really realize when we wake up in the morning, it's a new day. It's a new day for you to create. And you have the power to create. I don't care what's going on the outside. I don't care if you have health issues, if the news isn't right, if someone is not at home because your kids just left for college or wherever. I don't care. That doesn't matter because it's all inside of you and you get to create your day. So we need to practice infinite possibilities to create the life we want. So this is why I'm here. Just a shout out. I see that I got some people on here. I want you all to know, hey, throw in a comment, say, hi, Lindsay. I do not know if you're on, okay, unless you comment. I don't know. And I also know sometimes up there, hey, look, Barb's on. Barb, lives in Santa Monica. Happy to have you here. And Barb and I have actually, and this is the part of being fun, temporary tattoos. So we got together and we got temporary tattoos. I want to show it to you guys. Both of them say the same thing. They're temporary. It says grateful. Why did we do that? So in the morning, when we wake up, we look at it and we are grateful. We are programming our mind. And this is why I'm here. I want to tell you just a little bit about my background. Oh, wait, Lindsay Leimbach from Florida. Nice to have you. That's East Coast. So I want you all to know that West Coast is having coffee and East Coast is having lunch with me. So thank you for being here. What I want to tell you about is that I'm actually originally from Baltimore, Maryland, just so you all know that. And I came to California and I have infinite possibilities. I was a psychology background and then I got into education. And I worked with kids that had real emotional problems, traumas, extreme stress, bipolar, schizophrenic, manic depressive, suicidal, drug problems, things like that. And I was a 10th, 11th grade teacher for years at this school. And then they asked me to be the principal. And then they asked me to be the headmaster. And I retired from there 8 years ago. Now, what do you say? Well, Lindsay, how were you so successful? How did you go from being the teacher to all of a sudden being the head of this school? And it wasn't because of my grades. It wasn't because of all the background I had in education. It had because I saw potential in every kid. When they walked in and they looked at me straight in the eye and they felt broken and they felt ruined and they felt like schools have kicked them out and that's why they've come to my special ed school. I didn't see the broken pieces in them. I saw the infinite potential. And I help them practice to know that inside of them, they're safe. Inside of them, that they have resources. Inside of them, they can create a new day. And that is awesome. And they started to say yes. So I know that all of us inside of us at some point in our life might feel like we're not good enough, or we're not loved enough, or we're not pretty enough, or we're not fulfilling our potential. We feel that outside of us or inside of us, but you know what? We can make that shift. And that's what this class is going to be about, or this show. Every Friday, I'm going to come and I'm going to give you different tools and techniques on how to practice tapping into the infinite potential to the subconscious mind. So where do we start with that? Now, I am learning, once this is my first show, I am not seeing people making comments to me. Ah, there we go. KJ, thank you. So I'm not seeing your comments, but Audra and Laura, who are my producers, are. And KJ, I love you. I taught KJ, and I also taught his sister. And thank you for saying, I really appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate your whole family. So, well, back a little to my story. 8 years ago, I retired from doing that and I became a mindfulness teacher. And I think they put up the banner of centeredmoment.com. That's my website. So if you want to know more about me. Oh, thanks, Dad. Oh, I love you too. Anyway, and so here's my website. And 8 years, I became a mindfulness teacher. And you talk about infinite potentials. So I've run this school, and then I brought mindfulness into the school. And in the school, I taught. And then when I came out, I made classes. Why do we have to be broken to know the truth? That it's all inside of us. That to be stopping, being mindful, which is really just being in the present moment without the story going on and really observing what's going on so you can tap into that infinite potential. And I started to teach that. And this, are you ready, guys? It's going to blow your mind. I actually have taught 7 times at JPL NASA. Is that cool? I taught for lots of government schools, and I've taught in law firms. And you think, well, how did you do that? It's because I didn't limit my potential. I went from the inside out. So let me take a breath. Everyone take a breath with me. And it's important. Here's your first tip. When you get excited, and once this is my first episode and the first time me doing this, I'm pretty wound up. So I need to relax because even when you get excited for the positive, what happens is you allow adrenaline to run and you start going on this automatic pilot. And as you could tell, I was talking super fast. I was like, don't forget anything. It's because I was getting myself a little wound up and nervous. I wasn't being mindful. So I needed to slow it down. And how do you slow it down? You slow it down by taking a breath in, holding it, and then releasing longer. And when you release longer, what's happening is your parasympathetic nervous system is being activated. And it's the way to regulate yourself and get yourself back to balance. So why is this so important? It's because when you're in a relaxed state, then you can hear yourself. You can connect with your divinity inside. You can connect your brain and your heart, and you can really start speaking the truth from the authentic self, from where you really are in that moment, instead of that hyper self that you guys just saw 2 minutes ago, where I was going, bah, 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 bah. That's excitement. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you really want to tap in and get into the flow of God, you take that excitement, you relax yourself down in the breath. And you say, I am here with all this energy, but I don't need to push. I can flow. I can flow. And so that's what we all need to do. We get excited sometimes for positive things like a new show, but sometimes we get a little excited. Maybe I got a letter in the mail. I went on vacation. I came back and it said IRS. That can definitely get your adrenaline going. You get that boost. What is this? That panic. Oh no, do I owe $1 million? Am I being audited? All that pops up your mind. Before you open the envelope, that's where you say, wait a second, be mindful. You take a breath, you relax, and that you know that there can be good no matter what it says. You tap into that good radiates even in the difficult, that no matter what's going on, you can handle it. Not when you're chaotic, not when you're freaking out, when you're calm. So then I opened it up. Wasn't a big deal. Yeah. Do I need to work on something? Yes. Can I handle it? Yes. But not from that chaos, poor me, out of control feeling mind. You have to come into that calm place so you can see the infinite possibilities, right? Practicing infinite possibilities of how to solve the problem, and not with the old habits. You don't want to solve new problems with old thinking. It won't work. I think Einstein said that. I went on a plane trip and I was running out of my house. And when I was running out of my house, I saw this book I have. It's called The Law of Success by Paramahansa Yogananda. Paramahansa Yogananda is a yogi that came from India. And he came over to the United States like in the 1920s. And he was actually really good friends with Gandhi. He's a cool guy. So this is maybe you would recognize his face here. Yogananda. If you've ever read the book Autobiography of a Yogi, that's who he is. He has wonderful writings. And so I grabbed this book and I read it, and I always believed God or the world is talking to me in synchronicity. And I looked at it, and this is what he wrote in 1940. It is not your passing inspirations or brilliant ideas so much as your everyday mental habits that control your life. Habits of thought are mental magnets and conditions. Good habits of thoughts enable you to attract benefit and opportunities. Bad habits of thought attract you to material-minded and unfavorable environments. The truth is the truth. He says this. I have another wonderful book that I love. Ernest Holmes. He says this. I got another one around here. Wayne Dyer. All of it. The truth is the truth. But we have to understand, what are the habits we have? How do we wake up in the morning? How do we react when we get that envelope? It's a good question. It's a good question. So let's take a deeper dive and let's understand a little bit more about the brain and where the habits come from and where does the programming come from. So I have this wonderful graphic, and it's going to come up here. We have a little not leg. Here it comes. And it's showing you, this is the Reader's Digest version of the brain. Okay, so I'm breaking the science into real easy amounts to digest. You don't need to know it complicated, but we need to understand that the brain actually has three sections. One section is down here. This is the lower brain. You can see it, it's in the blue. Now, once like I said, this is really the simple version. But in the lower place, every living animal and even reptile, a mammal and reptile, has this. And that regulates the body. It regulates your heartbeat. It regulates your digestive system. It also has that real simple primitive fight, flight, and freeze mode. Like, so if you see a reptile, let's say a lizard, I love those lizards that run in in my backyard. I'm in California. And it gets startled, it stops, it freezes, because it wants to survive. It doesn't want to be eaten. It's alert. And then when it starts feeling better, you can see almost like it takes a breath, it relaxes, it does a few little pumps, and then it scurries off. That's programmed within that lizard, so it would survive. We have all that programming going on all the time. The lower part of your brain is always on. When you're sleeping, it's on, because you have to still regulate your digestion. You have to have your heartbeat. If you think your cells are multiplying, your temperature gauge is going off. It has all that. Now, the second part of the brain in the yellow, do you see that second part of the brain? The second part of the brain, that's your middle brain. And that's where you store your memories. It's where you learn stuff, and it gets put in there. And then when we talk about the subconscious mind, this holds the subconscious mind when we're talking about the brain and science. So let's say your family were screamers. And by the way, my family weren't screamers, but let's just say they were. There were moments of screaming. We all had that. And you grew up that way. So when you become an adult, screaming doesn't seem weird to you, because in your subconscious mind, you actually had that happen all the time. Now, you might have another family, and I know people like this, where they really showed no emotion at all in the family. So you learned to bury your emotion. You learned this is not how you're going to express yourself at a very young age. Think of your brain as being like a sponge, and it's just absorbing information. And so between 0 and 7, it absorbs the most information, and it's multiplying and growing all the time. And you're absorbing, how do you interact? Well, you're absorbing, how do you look at people straight in the eyes? Do you interrupt? How do you talk? How do you walk? Do you hold hands? Do you hug? Do you not hug? How do you express love? How do you express grieving? How do you express sadness? You're just taking it all in. You're taking it all in, and it's going into that subconscious mind. I had uh, someone in middle school who was kind of like a bully to me, and she was very tall and had dark curly hair. And so for a long time in my adult life, when I ran into someone who was tall and had dark curly hair, I'm like, oh, I don't think I like that person. It was my gut reaction. And then I realized, you know what? I'm transferring old thought patterns about something that happened to me in middle school into the present moment. See, this is where we have to practice infinite possibilities, because if we go into the old habits that I just read that Paramahansa Yogananda talks about, if we go into those old ways of thinking, then I might not like anyone who's tall and has dark curly hair. And that is ridiculous, even though that was programmed very young. So we need to realize what is programmed in us when we're really young. How do we handle anger? How do we handle rage? Even food. How do you eat? So my husband grew up with two brothers, and they didn't have a lot of money. So mom would come and bring out food once a week, and in the food, put it out, and they would just devour it and eat it and eat it and eat it. And in that, because they thought if they didn't eat it now, they wouldn't get it. Well, and then I get married to him. I bring home Oreo cookies, and he eats all the Oreo cookies in one night. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know. I think they're going to disappear. I'm like, they're not going to disappear. Why do you think I'm going to eat the Oreo cookies in the middle of the night? And then it dawned on me, he goes, this is what I did as a kid. I actually used to eat all the good, rich food, sugary food first, because if I didn't eat it, my brothers. And I'm like, well, that is a bad habit that you're bringing into the present moment right now. And we have infinite possibilities. We can reprogram that. You have a choice not to repeat that, even if it's in the back, in the yellow part of the brain. So let's throw up that screen one more time. Because if you go, what's so great is animals have that part of our brain, like our dogs. Remember, if they go to the pounds and they come out of the pounds, my dog bit my dad. I'm so sorry, Dad. But it's because he didn't like tall white men with hats on, we started to realize. So obviously the last owner was probably not kind. That looked a lot like my dad. That's in the yellow part. Now, what human beings can do is go to the higher part of the brain, right here. We call this a prefrontal cortex. You can call it the executive center of thinking. This is the power of choice. The power of choice. So we want to activate the power of choice right here. This is where you play chess, where you problem solve. It's not where you're doing old habits. It's where you create new habits. Right now, if I am telling you things that you don't already know, and you're really paying attention in the present moment, you're being mindful, you're taking this in, and we put you on a scanner, this part of your brain would be activated, and it's sending information into the middle part of your brain. But if you're not really paying attention to me and you're doing many other things and you just hear me being a talking head in the back, it's not sinking in and going into the back part of your subconscious mind. It is not going into your memory bank. Okay? When we talk about going to prayer, when we talk about going into meditation, when we talk about programming ourselves so we can activate our higher self, what we're saying is we're relaxing this part, the animal, the more animal part of our primitive part of our brain, all those old habits, and we're actually consciously concentrating on one thing, at a time and bringing it in so we can see the infinite possibilities. So when we're talking about this, I want you guys to get, when I say we're going to practice infinite possibilities, it means we are not stuck in doing old habits and old ways. That there's miracle moments, miracle ideas, all that is awaiting for us. But we got to activate our higher consciousness of thinking. And that's actually in this part of our brain. When we activate our prefrontal cortex, then we can observe, right, our habits. We can see ourselves, which it doesn't mean we don't get angry, but we can recognize that we're getting angry or going into an old habit, or you're reaching for that potato chip or that big hand of popcorn because you're watching TV, and you can observe it and say, is this what I really want to eat now? Or is this really the feeling I want to have now? And so what I've already told you, right? What is the one way to get yourself out of the old way of thinking and get yourself out of extreme emotion so you can observe it? Let's take a breath, hold it, and then breathe it out longer, right? And that activates that parasympathetic nervous system. And that brings you up to the higher level of thinking. You have the choice. You have the choice. So I call that the ABCs of PIP. So this is a technique we're going to take home with us. The ABCs of PIP. A, become aware. If you're not aware of what you are feeling or thinking, or even can acknowledge you're in a situation. So when I got that letter and it said IRS, I had a reaction, right? I had an automatic reaction because the fear of all the things I've learned about that is in that yellow part, that middle part of the brain. But I took a breath before I opened it up, got myself to relax. I was aware. So that's the B. I took a breath. So I'm aware that I'm now going into a stress reaction or an overreaction. Took a breath, calm myself down. And then I have the power of choice. I can choose to be pissed, or I can choose to say, look, I'm upset, but I don't need to be pissed, or I don't need to be fearful. I can take a breath and I can have infinite possibilities of different choices what to do with this information, no matter what it was. So this morning, I always say God gives me the story. This morning, I wake up and it's about 6:20, and I wake up and I'm feeling grateful and I'm looking at my gratitude, right? And my neighbors, obviously, the adults are on vacation because the next thing I heard was rap music. I'm not kidding you. Rap music with cussing words coming in through their garage, coming through my window. I was like, what? It's 6:20 in the morning. They must be on vacation and the son is home alone. So I thought to myself, I get a choice. I get to choose how I'm going to react to this. I needed to meditate. I don't need to. I wanted to meditate. I like to meditate every morning to get myself in a centered, balanced place. And I said, you know what? I'm going to meditate with rap music. Because I wasn't going to allow myself to get mad. I said, oh, this is what I can meditate in silence, but can I meditate with rap music? Can I accept it, be aware of it, and then not allow that yellow part, that middle part, where I get angry and tell myself a story? The child next door put that rap music on not to piss me off. It wasn't about me. It was about him. He was feeling like he had freedom, and for whatever reason, he got up so early, and this had nothing to do with me. So why am I taking it personally? Think about that. I get to choose. If he put on Beethoven or some other beautiful music, I would think, oh, the angels are out there. They're all whispering to me and telling me to meditate to this pretty music. Well, to him, that was Beethoven. It wasn't mine, but it was his. And he didn't do that to make me suffer. He did that so he's having a happy experience. So I kept saying to myself, practice letting go. I could not control the music at the time, but I could control how I react to the music. I could still meditate, and I would let it go, and then it would come back. And I'd be like, ah, they're cussing now. They're just cuss words. They're not cussing to me. Let it go, Lindsay. Back to the meditation. And that's the practice. So every Friday from 9 to 9:30, we're going to be talking about how can we practice to bring ourselves into that centered place, that centered moment, to the authentic self that we have inside of ourselves. I have an upcoming class starting not until August, and look at it more. Oh, thank you so much. I got the ABC Pip up there. It's going to be on Neurodharma by Rick Hansen, one of my favorite neuropsychologists. And more information will be on my website. It's on Zoom, just so everyone knows, on Wednesdays. So love to all of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for putting in your comments. Thank you for sharing. And I'll see you next Monday. And I think I'll even be a little more calmer, but not too calm, because I love to have the energy. So I'm sending you bright, beautiful energy. And remember to keep supporting the New Thought Network, Media Network. And please donate. We'll give this all out for free with tons of love. And as you know, you give, you receive, and we have the cycle. I'm grateful for you all. Happy 4th of July. Happy day. Till next week.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network. Come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.
New Thought Media Network proudly presents Lindsay Leimbach, Fridays at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. And now, here's Lindsay.